hey, we're just killing time until you're ready.
Oh, I
Here,
yeah.
on the very rim of known space,
Whoops.
justice is a long way away.
So I was kind of ready and I hit the buttons in the wrong order. So that's what happened. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the space. And welcome. It's been a morning, y'all. Welcome to the Space Game Junkie podcast. I, as always, am your co-host, Brian, barely here. And joining us, as always, is your co-host, Spaz, always here.
Hello.
Your co-host, Julie.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, your co-host. Wait, is Thorsten here?
Thorsten is not here.
Boo! Didn't even notice. I'm sorry. Thorsten is having internet issues, sadly. So we hope he'll get those resolved and get back to us soon. But also, we're also joined by your co-host, Jacob.
No quote for this week, sorry.
That's fine. And David.
Guten Tag? I don't know.
You, sir, are no Thorsten. You, sir, are no Thorsten.
Oh,
Substitute Thorsten.
Throw in the backup Thorsten in there. Throw in the relief Thorsten. Throw in the relief Thorsten in there.
So,
Anyway,
typically we have, I believe that's Starpoint Gemini 3.
yeah, because we're talking today about crisis and disappointment. I thought disappointment would probably be a theme, one of the themes of today. And so, what game has been more disappointing in the recent years than? Sorry, LGM, I love you guys, I love you, but what were you doing? What were you thinking with this one? Anyway, I couldn't think of another game to have on the background. I'm like, what would be a theme for today? Probably sadness, probably fear, disappointment. Okay, I can work with disappointment. And and I'm start scrolling through my videos and scrolling. Oh, Starpoint Gemini 3, disappointment personified.
Just to be super clear, though, just to be super clear for anyone watching this on stream, the game in question is not related directly to the topic at hand. It's disappointment for a different reason than the topic at hand.
Agreed, but I couldn't find another game that was directly related to the topic at hand. Sure. Not that I had a video of anyway. I didn't want to get a trailer for NFT castle play to earn because games are work now.
There is a game we could have used for that, but I didn't think of it until just now.
Oh, I also don't want to.
It's a game we covered on the podcast.
Oh, no. The only
I won't say anything about anything further.
But
on
the only video I thought of that, but the only video I have of that is with us talking to the guy. So the thingy would be in the corner there, and that would be all weird.
Yeah, that would not be.
So that
I guess I'm missing what
we had before we. Was this before we knew what crap NFTs were? We had a guest on.
This is before NFTs were even really in the mainstream.
Hey, y'all.
This was a crypto-based game that, we thought, the concept doesn't seem that bad.
Yeah, we're like, we don't really know anything. They're like, oh, blockchain. Oh, sure. Yeah, maybe this is okay. I mean, it sounds like a neat technology. Why not? And then as we learned more about crypto and everything, we're like, oh, no. Oh,
yeah, this is before we had a very staunch anti-crypto stance here.
Yeah. We will never cover a crypto game ever, which makes me sad because the guy who made Jumpgate's making a crypto game now. It's like, ugh. Anyway, so
it is what it is.
Yeah, so Julie, you were the one that came up with this week's topic. So why don't you start us off with what were you thinking about when you thought of this topic?
Well, I want to start out with one thing and then go to like a good example, and that there everybody will just kind of go off, I'm sure. So basically, I was always a fan of Square Enix, and I will preference this by saying I understand the president of Square Enix, Yosuke Matsuda, had something a little bit different in mind than Axis Infinity. Am I saying that wrong? Probably right.
Axie Infinity,
thank you. But what really startled me was in one of his recent speeches was this, and it's a short little quote. so bear with me. I realize that some people who play to have fun and who currently form the majority of players have voiced their reservations toward these new trends, and understandably so. However, I believe that there will be a certain number of people whose motivation is to play to contribute, by which I mean to help make the game more exciting. And what I read this for is the whole idea of
Sorry, I was just throwing up into a bucket. I apologize.
I hope you were doing a bit, Brian.
I was doing a bit. I was doing a bit. I was not actually throwing up into a bucket, though. I was going to say
very convincing.
Oh, good. Oh, good. No, I'm glad it sounded convincing. That's another.
I will give you that. It sounded extremely convincing.
Okay.
Well, see, the deal is this, and what this, aside from the fact that the man is totally out in touch with his player base and living in some little fantasy world, unfortunately, what it does address is what we were talking about, just Spaz and I and everybody else, just before the you got here, and that was this Axie Infinity, and that is, the originator of the game says if you get rid of the play to earn part, all you've got left is like a mediocre game that's a Pokemon ripoff.
Sorry.
And the deal is this, is it becomes not something play to earn it's a job anymore, at least in those countries like the Philippines, where I understand this particular game is much more popular. And what I was surprised to learn after I looked into it a little bit more is how in some ways it's like a Ponzi scheme, in other ways not. But, because they've got this, the buy-in becomes more expensive and more expensive and more expensive in the game of Axie Infinity.
Julie.
Yes.
For the purpose of the audience and honestly me, Ponzi scheme, please define.
Okay, Ponzi scheme. The idea is, okay, I'm going to sell some, here's a good example. I'm going to sell some stock in a fake company I don't actually own, right? And so I say, okay, well, if you invest with me, you can make 500% on $1 interest. And so everybody said, this is fantastic. This is great. The average interest rate on a mortgage is only 2.5% to 3%. Okay, so where does the guy get the money? The guy gets the money from the next person along that are going to invest this, and gives it to the first person that's invested. And this can go along like this until eventually the whole thing collapses like a house of cards. But the thing is, when you compare this to Axie Infinity, is what will ultimately happen is the buy-in will get more expensive and more expensive and more expensive. But after the point where the whole thing starts to collapse like a house of cards, right, then the economy of this game is such that then the buy-in will be much lower and the whole process will repeat. And what this one, and if anybody's interested, let me know. And I put the article in the little video in the admin chat, but and I can post it in the stream if anybody's interested in. But the way it also works is, as the buy-in gets more expensive, you can only use 3 of their little version of Pokemon at a time, and so they rent out their little version of Pokemon to other people who can't afford to buy in, and so it becomes like a little virtual version of sharecropping. And this, not of course to mention the whole thing about how much and I didn't realize it first until Spaz told me about how much it actually hurts the environment. So take it away, Spaz, I guess.
Yeah. Here's the root of the problem. Well, there's several, but here's the first part. Crypto is terrible for the environment. Okay, we know this. Anyone listening to us who's heard us rant about this on our Discord, you know this. It's terrible for the environment. The energy costs are phenomenal. You can run small countries based on how much these crypto farms actually generate in aggregate. That's not the worst of it, though. The purpose of play-to-earn games and the purpose of NFTs being added to games is to get people to buy more crypto. And here is why. The people who get rich off of crypto are people who are already wealthy. Anyone else who's buying in isn't going to make as much as people who were already wealthy and bought in early. So it's revolving around the fact that they can try to get people to buy in so that the people who bought in early can cash out. That is the end goal of people who end up selling you on games like Axie Infinity. But it gets worse, as Julie alluded to. When you have these sharecropping programs of, yes, you can rent out these Pokemon from me, these Axies from me, and I take a cut of what you're going to make as a job. Well, you don't own those Axies if you're joining in and doing this as a job. You're having someone subsidize them for you, but they're taking money from you that you're earning, and all they did was buy them in the first place. You have no ownership. You have no stake. They own what you're using, and you're basically renting from them. And that is worse than sharecropping, because sharecropping, if you work on someone else's land and you're sharecropping, great. You get to take some of that food home. You actually have something to tangible to work with. If you're sharecropping for someone who's letting you use their Axies, they might have 40, 50 people working under them, each doing the same kind of job because they bought in, they had money to start with, and then they're raking it back without doing any effort of their own beyond that. So if you sharecrop and you're taking that food home, great, you've got food. Worst case scenario, you have food.
Progress?
I also wanted to point out, because it's easy for everybody to say NFTs are evil, and obviously we all know about that. But the effect on the industry is more than just okay, well, rich people getting richer and poor people getting poorer. What this is symptomatic of is what I saw happen with Mythic Online and Mythic Games, and I know this had nothing to do with NFTs, but we started out, we and the other podcast, as we were asked to do a short-term thing about.
Julie, I'm sorry. Did you get farther away from the microphone since last you talked?
Yes, I did. Sorry.
Okay, no.
There we go. So
much better.
This is more than about just NFTs, right? What it's more symptomatic of, and the other podcast I'm on, we were asked to do by Online Gaming Radio this short thing about Age of Conan, and we called it Age of Conans, a short series. But the thing is, back then, Mythic was big, right? And still existed. And so what happened, they were the ones doing the Warhammer Online. And they said, here's what we feel you should get out of our game. You should play our game this way. And ultimately, they said, no, we don't want to play realm versus realm. We want to do the instance combat. And they refused to listen. And ultimately, there are a lot of other things involved. And I have the deepest respect for their devs, one of which was on the other show I'm on. And because he's like a showman. But they just wouldn't listen to their market. And back in grad school, what this all boils down to is back in grad school, the person who taught my marketing class was the head of marketing at the time for Motorola. And he said, good marketing means making your product meet the needs of the consumer. And what we are approaching in the gaming industry, and here's to me what the crux of the issue is, where it's the other way around, is developers and publishers want gamers to say, we're going to get out of this what you want, what we want you to. And that's why, to me, what the president of Square Enix said was just so incredibly upsetting. So that's, I wanted to bring that up too. And I don't
think it's developers, Julie. It's
publishers.
It's publishers and the shareholders, because the shareholders always want to see infinite profits. But again, the problem that comes in with the crypto space is that if you have this system that is crypto and people want to cash out, the only way is if you get more people to use crypto, to buy into the same crypto, so that there's more money in the ecosystem, so the people who are at the top can cash out. And ultimately, this is what's known in the financial world as a greater fool scheme. The NFTs, the crypto, NFTs only exist to get people to buy more crypto. And play to earn in games and NFTs in games, again, only exist to get people to buy more crypto. That's the end goal. It's not about making anything fun, because play to earn is not about fun. They're very, very clear about this. They want people to earn, or at least that's what they claim they want people to do, is to earn. But that's not what it actually is. It's a marketing technique to get people to become the greater fool. In short, it's this. I'm a fool for buying this stock because it's all speculative. But I want you to also buy this stock so that I can have the ability to cash out, and you will be a greater fool than I am, because the one left holding the bag is the greater fool.
I'd never heard of this before, but it makes so much sense.
Yeah. If you think about it in terms of stocks, just in terms of the stock market, that's how the stock market functions. You want to not be the greater fool. So you definitely want other people buying into the stock, so there's more money in that ecosystem, so that when you sell off, you're making a profit. And yes, pyramid schemes do come into that, Fernando. You're correct. But they're not always pyramid schemes in the direct definition of the term, because the stock market, although yes, it can be manipulated, is not inherently a pyramid scheme. A pyramid scheme requires the people buying in to get more people to buy in, because just like any multi-level marketing scheme, definitely a pyramid scheme, even if they claim otherwise, the more friends you get involved in the ecosystem, you get money from what your friends make as a commission. That's how multi-level marketing works. You know, the Amways of the world, or Arbonne, or any of the others that are like that. It's getting more of your friends to buy in, and then you make a profit because you referred them to the company. You got them to sell, so you make a cut of their sales. That's a pyramid scheme. Not so much a stock market. Doesn't exactly work that way. But the analogy is close.
I think I try not to pay too much attention to all this stuff because it's depressing. But the big...
You'd think.
But we're also woefully overdue for a crypto episode. Good grief, Spaz. That was a rant in a bit.
Well,
it was educational.
Am I wrong, though?
No, it was educational. I mean, the thing that, like, the thing that really hit me lately was was it the CEO of Unity? What he said, yeah. Like, if you're not building games for monetization, you're an effing idiot. Did he something like that?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awful.
Why do they want us to be workers? We've already bought your game and we'll buy your DLC. Why do you want us
They want everyone to be workers.
Oh God. We can't have any joy in our lives. The landed gentry just want us to work until we die.
Well, that is at the root of capitalism, after all. It's all about exploitation. On the other hand, yeah. On the other hand, the developers don't necessarily agree with that, or at least most of them don't. Fortunately, it's publishers primarily and
CEOs,
shareholders that are people who are more invested in the money than in players actually having fun, because you can't make money off of fun, right?
But do we think, and I guess this is where the crisis comes in, do we think that more larger companies like Ubisoft, like Squeenix, do we think they're going to lean more and more toward this play to earn thing as a way to keep bringing in revenue for their shareholders?
Yep, they're going to lean into it exactly as they're allowed to.
The larger ones probably will. But here's the crux of the counterpoint, which is that they will attempt it, and just like Ubisoft did with Ghost Recon Breakpoint, it will fail miserably. They will try.
God, that was so sad. I was enjoying.
What happened to Break?
So they added a some kind of NFT system to it.
The Breakpoint, yes.
Where if you played the game for over 500 hours, you could start getting these original NFTs that you could trade with other players who had been playing for over 500 hours.
Oh, that thing. They did have like 6 transmissions total or stuff like that.
Yeah, it was horrendously. It was horrendously failed. It failed so bad they just stopped working on the game entirely. I think either the game is shut down or it's going to be shut down soon.
See, to me, here's the kind of what happens with the mindset of investors. Paul Barnett, and I know a lot of people say, "Oh my God, Paul Barnett," but
explain who that is.
Paul Barnett worked for Mythic, and when Warhammer Online was the hottest, latest, greatest thing, he was their pitchman, and he is very, very good at what he did. But as the company started to go downhill, there are some people who say, "Oh, hey, Paul Barnett, he now works for a company that owns what is now Ultima Online called Broadsword." Paul Barnett, though, is some people, it's like, "Oh my God, Paul Barnett," not him. But I think he is he's great at what he does. But he described, when I was talking to him once, it's like, "Oh, Julie, you name dropper. World of Warcraft as a freak of nature." And it was, because it was like lightning in a bottle. And then everybody else came along and said, "I'm going to try and get lightning in the bottle too." And they all failed miserably. And it's one of the things, like Spad said, what's driving a lot of this is investors who say, "I saw what Axie Infinity did. Now I want to do it." And so you end up with people like Ubisoft who are late to the game and fail miserably. And so I think this is just another part of where the industry is starting to fail, and it's like, why is it becoming... when I play a game, I got a stressful enough job, and I got a bad case of PTSD because of it. And I don't want to play the game and have it be a second job. And that's why I quit games like that.
I mean, admittedly, I don't play MMOs anymore, but that's also because I felt like they're becoming a second job. I don't feel like doing that as work, so I don't play MMOs anymore. It doesn't mean the games are bad, but for me, it's just not my kind of fun anymore. On the other hand, if it were a play-to-earn MMO, which we already know is
something
a terrible
people are trying to do,
right, then it would be something I really wouldn't want to do, because it wouldn't be fun anymore. It wouldn't be fun from the get-go. It would be a job.
But that's what they want out of us, it seems.
Well, yes, because they're trying to exploit as much value as possible from the consumer. Now, to be fair, as long as the consumers keep pushing back against moves to put NFTs in games, or even a move toward NFTs in general, which is what happened with Team 17. They made a major push to introduce NFTs, not into their games, but to partner with an NFT company.
Oh my God.
And the backlash was so huge, a lot of us left the Team 17 Discord over it, including me. And I would still consider buying a Team 17 game from here on out. I still would, but it was enough of a backlash that when I left, it was about an hour before they announced, we've heard your concerns, and we're going to walk this back and not do this partnership that we were talking about. Yeah, it was bad.
It's really, really bad. But Ferd in the chat brings up a good point: is that some companies are too big to take risks. And so
of course they're risk averse, because if something that they put a few $1 million into fails and they don't make that money back, the shareholders will be upset. On the other hand, that's where the indie scene comes in. They can afford to take risks.
Thank God.
Game development, even for indies, is still expensive, don't get me wrong, but not on the level of AAA studios.
Yeah, and we love game developers. We're just going to throw that out there. We love game developers, and we're thankful that they keep making these unique, wonderful, non-NFT games that we can play to play.
Well, this is why the article of an author of an article I recently read described these games like Axie Infinity not as play to earn, but pay now, play later. And it reaches the point where, and this is probably why CEO isn't owned by CCP anymore, and I won't even begin to try and pronounce the then CEO's name. But when I see a quote like this, I said, well, no wonder. He said, gamers want value created in online games to be used in the real world. Content of online games should have real value in the real world. The gaming industry should evolve to allow gamers to earn money from games by using them money to make a retirement plan. And I thought,
what does that mean?
Well, he apparently feels that gamers are, instead of wanting to play games, everything in the game should have a real world value. And it reached the point of the online that it did. And RMT just became rampant inflation. And so he's like, does he honestly feel that play to earn can build up a retirement plan for me? What have I been doing, wasting my time with the 401k?
Well, the question comes in, if you're going to play to earn, where is the money coming from? And that is the fundamental question for play to earn. The money in question comes from the other people that get suckered into playing the game. That's where the money comes from. You can only cash out if the game gets a whole bunch of other people buying in. And if they don't buy in, you can't cash out.
This just sounds worse the more you describe it.
Well, to get into it politically, I have to for a second because it's kind of related. It is the libertarian wet dream of financialize everything. That is at the heart of a lot of this, because That is what's driving the crypto market. Financialize everything.
But unless you want to buy an island and make that and make
that you mean the island that they don't actually have the rights to buy?
Yeah.
This is called seasteading, by the way, if you're listening and not familiar with what we're talking about. It's called seasteading. It's where libertarians say they want to buy an island or build one in the middle of the ocean in order to not have to ever pay taxes because it would be a sovereign nation unto itself. Yeah. This is where the crypto market eventually wants to be. In fact, if you heard of the idea of what they called crypto land earlier this year.
Oh, that thing.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Where everything is financialized. There are no taxes because crypto's whole point is to avoid paying taxes on anything. Yeah. Talk about a libertarian dystopia, because that's what they want.
So it sounds like I think. Oh, who's going to talk? I interrupted.
I was going to add a little commentary.
Good.
We truly all live on the darkest timeline.
Oh God.
Could be worse, but yeah, it could be better.
It's not great.
That's a pretty dark timeline.
I don't want to live in interesting times. I don't. I hate it. I want to live in boring times. Can we just go back to boring times? It's interesting because like all these people try and make NFTs a thing and make crypto a thing, and there's always a backlash. Like every time. And there's always like if you guys haven't read what's that thing called? Web3 is going great. Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Web 3.0 is going. Yeah.
It's
Web 3.0 is going great.
It's a great resource to show just how terrible all this is, because it's just a constant stream of people milking other people out of millions of dollars, and crypto things failing.
I love how we just all committed to making this a freaking anti-crypto podcast. I don't mind, but
well, I mean, our community as a whole is anti-crypto. Yeah.
And it does make sense to talk about when the head of Unity, which a lot of indie games use, the head of Unity says that thing he said. If you're not making
about monetizing,
yeah. And you're like, wait, is this going to be a problem going forward? Like, are we going to be
might be
are we going to be playing a game in 2030 and the game runs a Unity from 2019 because it's pre-monetization? So people will just be developing new games on old Unity or Unreal or whatever other engines.
At that point, they just fork the engine themselves somehow.
They might. I wonder if can they do that legally? Can like developers take it and go F you Unity and make their own thing?
Sort of.
I mean, maybe they can. Maybe they can be like, look, we reverse engineered Unity and now we're making our own fork of Unity that doesn't have NFTs because we're not fucking idiots. Excuse my language. But it just really worries me because there's been like for years people have been saying, oh, the indie game space is the bubble's gonna burst. The bubble's gonna burst. You know it's gonna burst. It hasn't yet.
The whole point of crypto is a perspective bubble, and the promise of infinite growth when the resources in order to continue making it are finite, and the number of people who will buy in is finite. And ultimately, the only people who will actually profit, because 90% and more do not profit off of crypto. They lose money.
But it sounds really cool. It
sounds cool.
It sounds awesome. And one of my favorite things is I'll occasionally see crypto bros on Twitter trying to say things like, but if you just understood, if you just listened and read and understood what we're trying to do, you'd get it. It's like, no, we get it. You think you'll be able to take a gun from Final Fantasy and play it in World of Warcraft, and that's not how anything works.
Nope. Not only would that require centralized programming, the same engine for every game that's going to be developed,
which they don't want,
using that NFT, which will not work. Nope, that won't happen. Let's say you want to make a 2D game, say Mario, the original Super Mario Brothers, and then you make an NFT on that. And then, oh, wait, what happens with Super Mario Brothers 3D? Super Mario 64. Yeah, let's see if that's going to be made in the exact same engine that was used on the NES. You can't do it because the technology doesn't work.
Like that, yeah.
Well,
and then you have to deal with licensing hell because, hey, you want to bring something from one property into another? Nope. Or onto a console which doesn't have the license to use any of those characters?
It's not like those ANCAPs want to get rid of IP law.
Nope.
So,
well, this is one of the things that, since I was vaulted by Jacob, no, who is this? Richard Bartle. Richard Bartle and Roy Tubshaw invented online gaming when they came up with multi-user dungeons. When I was talking with Richard Bartle, and not like he's a buddy, but he's been on the other show a few times, and when the big thing now is you see all the advertisements for Meta, and because that's Facebook's new direction, and everybody wants to be the person who's going to own the metaverse. And he said the problem with that is the same problem that Spaz just brought up. And he said, you're not going to be able to have something that's from one game or one part of the metaverse that works in another unless you get every corporation to work together and everything built in the same engine. It's never going to happen. And this is a point at which Dr. Bartle listens to this podcast and says, I never said that.
Yeah, it gets even worse. It gets even worse because they think that owning the NFT will somehow give them ownership over that thing and they can use it however they like. Sort of like the people who bought that art book for Dune.
Oh man!
All right.
They bought the art. They bought the art book for Dune in an auction, and then assumed that by buying that art book that was going to be that is from the 70s, mind you, that they were going to now have the license to make secondary materials off of
All
that.
right, someone did that. Also,
yeah.
Is it just me, or is all of this sounding awfully like sovereign citizen stuff?
Very much, because again, as I alluded to with the whole libertarian dystopian nightmare, financializing everything is something that they think they can do.
I'm sure the estate of Frank Herbert had a little bit of something to say about that.
Yeah. Oh, and also one of the leaders of that DAO, DAO, was kicked off the project for being an absolute racist. So there's that.
Surprising no one.
Surprising no one. And also surprising no one, someone asked when Cryptoland was coming up as a thing, what will the age of consent be in Cryptoland?
Fuck.
And the response was, mental age should be enough.
Surprising
no one.
Welcome to the future of 2022.
Well, the thing is, this is, to me, what's happening in the industry is a lot more than just about NFTs and cryptocurrency. And like I said earlier, it's about how out of touch publishers are and so intent on listening to their investors. And, when I think about some of the things, again, going back to what the president of Square Enix said in one of his little speeches, and, and he was talking about how players having no explicit incentive to play their games. I said, well, what about just having fun? And he said what he faulted players, and his turn of phrase is just astounding. He said, who were motivated strictly by such inconsistent personal feelings as goodwill and voluntary spirit. And I said, oh, perish the thought. Why would I want to play a game to have fun and have just goodwill and volunteer spirit? Like it's a bad thing. And it's like these people are just completely out of touch, not just with the market, not just with players, but reality, and it's like, how can this not collapse like a house of cards? Because there's so much money involved. But on the other hand, when you see something like this collapse like a house of cards, I think it's just going to be a great big boon for the whole indie developers.
Yeah, you're probably right, because it's just like what didn't that Square Enix guy say? Like, didn't he say something like, or wasn't he basically saying, we can't monetize fun? Why even have fun if you can't monetize it? Isn't that basically what they were saying?
Yeah, that's what it seemed like to me.
A take.
Yeah, it's not in so many words, but yeah, the basic idea was that it should be something that's monetized.
God. And Salbanot, how do you say his name? Sebastianut. I don't know how to say it. I've never said it out loud. He made an interesting point that, like, everything has a time. Like, back in the 90s, we probably wouldn't have accepted DLC, but things weren't digital then. How would you have the DLC you have today on store shelves? Like that, I mean, there's a reason.
You had to release it as an expansion.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
how you had to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was an expansion pack that was in a separate box. So
and then eventually you saw the gold edition with all the
the Game of the Year edition, blah blah blah. Yeah, exactly. I kind of miss that. Honestly, I kind of miss the gold edition / Game of the Year edition. I kind of miss that. I'll be perfectly honest. But
I miss expansions.
T-sub or on I can't say those things. I don't know how to say those things. Demo discs on magazines. Oh God, that puts you at a time at a certain age, huh? if you know.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's Andre.
Okay,
yeah.
Sorry, I won't remember that. Just warning you, because I'm terrible with names. English, and if it's not an English name, I'm even worse at it. So I apologize.
Americans.
Yes. I apologize in advance because I have a public school education and I'm from America. Sorry. We're not that great. We never were. Anyway. So yeah, I'd like to think that we'll never hit a time where play to earn will be commonplace. Because I can't imagine that's what a majority of gamers play games for. Like,
not only that, it's that there's enough pushback against it that the ones that are out there right now, and Axie Infinity is the most popular one of them, but even that is having an economy crash right now.
I shouldn't laugh, but I'm gonna.
Well, when I say nothing of value is lost,
literally nothing of value is lost.
Literally nothing of value is lost.
You're absolutely right. Literally nothing. I can't pay my rent with Axie Coin or whatever it's called, whatever.
Well, yeah, that's again, its whole point is to get people to buy in and buy more crypto. If they had a model in which, oh wait, there is a model for that. It's called a casino.
Well, that's a banger.
Also, at its root level, part of the problem with the whole cryptocurrency thing is although some governments are trying to change this, there's no central authority that regulates it. So it's like the wild, wild west. and it's like nothing is going to guarantee you can't lose absolutely everything you own with it. And I've seen that happen, and it's just like the old adage, a fool and his money are soon parted.
And a greater fool than his money have bought crypto.
Funny.
So, I mean, I guess the best we can hope for is that the pushback keeps happening, because it's been pretty intense every time, which I appreciate. Honestly, I really appreciate that there's been so much pushback every time one of these NFT things has tried to become a thing. Because like
the fight isn't over. We just have to keep pushing back every single time.
Because we already have jobs. We use the jobs we have to buy the games. Why would we want to? I mean,
it also depends on where you're at in the world, and that was one of these journalists that I read is pointed out. He said this is why games like Axie Infinity are more popular in places where the average earning level is lower, because you can actually in some cases actually can pay the rent with it, but why in other places it's we wouldn't even consider it. So unfortunately, like a lot of things, you can't regulate morality.
Well, in the Philippines, where Axie Infinity is very popular, it is for the exact reasons you mentioned. The cost of living is fairly low there, but so is the rate of income for most people. The poverty level is pretty high, and because of that, people will do the sharecropping thing, and even though they're typically working for people who already bought in and therefore are making 50% or whatever the cut is off of whatever they make, the hope, and I have to stress that, the hope is that it is still more than what they would earn if they were able to get employed. The problem is Axie Infinity is on a downswing right now, and the earnings for average players dropped below what the minimum wage was for the Philippines over the last year. So it's no longer profitable, or not even feasible, in order to use it as a job as people had been doing.
Well, until RMT in whatever form stops, you will always have a situation where whatever phony currency it is has a real world value. And before cryptocurrency was even a thing, that's what happened with EVE Online, because it just had runaway inflation, because you could readily change their ISK for real world money with very little problems whatsoever.
It doesn't feel like the same thing though, for some reason. I don't know why. It doesn't feel as insidious as NFTs.
Well, it was I would say less so, but not by much, because if you want a better example of how a cash shop and a real world market, a marketplace in game plus a cash shop would ruin an economy, look at Diablo 3.
Oh God, yeah.
Remind us.
Well, when they introduced the cash shop for Diablo 3 and using the marketplace to trade items for real world money, that crashed the economy.
Yeah, people left the game. People left the game in droves because of that. Because of the auction house, which is a real money auction house. Yeah, and it was only after they removed it and did their big 2.0 whatever patch.
Yeah, to remove that. Because they had to walk it back, otherwise they were going to keep hemorrhaging players.
But now they have that other Diablo, that mobile Diablo. What is that? Immortal?
Diablo. Oh, yes, yeah.
Which,
Diablo Unethical, as I call it.
Yeah, didn't someone say it would cost like $500,000 to get all the end game stuff if you wanted it?
For
something
one
like that.
character.
Oh, for one character?
Yep.
The estimate was for one character how much you would have to spend on the packs in order to actually get that.
Oh, for God. Oh, gee.
Yeah, over 500,000 if you really wanted everything, but that's just for one character.
Oh.
And yet, remember what the reaction was when somebody stood up in the audience when that was announced and says, "Excuse me, is this an out-of-season April Fool's joke?" And yet now the game is actually got just all kinds of players. And until people start voting with their dollars, it's going to keep up.
I keep hearing from people who have played it and said that they have a good time with it, even though they haven't spent any money on it at all. So I guess it's possible. But
the issue there is that it's whale hunting. It's all about the whale hunting, because if they even get a few people who actually spend that much money, they subsidize the rest of the economy.
So like Star Citizen, basically. Who's bingo?
And bingo.
We got bingo.
Got one.
I just threw that in there for the bingo card.
We just had to. We had to.
It was right there.
Going to happen.
It was right there.
Sooner or later.
I could just reach out and grab it. It's right in front of me.
It's the obvious joke.
It's like my cat. If it's right there, I'm going to pick it up. I mean, that's all there is to it. But yeah, and who said Andre again with the insight? Good insight today, by the way. Andre said that he sees some people splitting off to become investors rather than playing games, which probably will happen. And I love the point Fernando brings up. The problem is that a lot of game producers don't actually like games. I kind of feel
that is an issue.
It kind of feels that way sometimes.
Yeah, their specialty is in management, not in actually playing games. And therefore, they don't necessarily have an idea of what makes a game fun. They have an idea of what will make money for the shareholders, and that's what they build around. And so they push that down onto the developers beneath them. And it's unfortunate because it's happening. It's the dystopian nightmare we all feared, or at least many of us did.
I really hope we're not diving into that dystopian nightmare. But you know what? If you think about it, Star Trek had to go through a dystopia and come out the other side.
And then it got better?
Yeah, and then it got better. So maybe we need some Bell riots. You know, maybe we need
Maybe you have to see the darkness before you can see the light.
Yeah, maybe. Because right now there's a hell of a lot of darkness. So much. And it feels like these NFTs are, well, to me at least, poorly timed, because there's so many people who are depressed and vulnerable right now. And this seems like really to target.
It's not poorly, it's predatory. That's the intent.
Yeah, and that bothers me even more. Because with so much going on in the world right now, people are looking for any kind of escape, and these things promise the world and yet deliver nothing. And I laugh
in most cases, literally nothing. By the way,
I know, and I laugh when these things crash, but I also think that that there are times where real people are probably getting hurt by this. Like I have a friend who on Facebook, former coworker, who stupidly, and I adore her, but she invested like most of her life savings into crypto. And they lied to her and told her that they were FDIC insured. They weren't. And it all crashed. It all crashed and burned. And now she's doing a GoFundMe, which apparently is the new health insurance in this country and whatnot, is GoFundMe.
No, it has been the only one for several years at this point.
I know.
It has been.
I know. I wanted to be nice, but yeah. and it's just so. Wait, tokens. There are patents for how they're targeting people. Wait a minute. What?
Oh yeah, there are.
What?
Yeah. This is a thing.
Oh, for God. I didn't want this show to become super depressing, but I don't see any other way it can go. I guess the only thing we can do. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
There are very few hope spots on this, but that's kind of the point.
There are some.
If you can't identify the problem, you can't deal with it.
Yeah, it's true.
Darkest timeline.
I mean, I don't want to be depressed by gaming, and I think it just takes thinking about good companies like our indie developers that we love, that keep making good stuff, that don't put NFTs into their games. But then, you hear someone like the guy at Squeenix saying, oh, we believe that this is the future. Okay, I guess it is for you. It isn't for me. So I will probably never play one of your games again. I don't know. It's just, I guess all we can do, like you said earlier, is vote with our dollars or whatever our currency might be in our countries. Okay, what's the currency in Poland? It's not the dollar. What's the currency in Poland?
The zloty. Why do you ask?
I'm just curious because I said the dollar, and that assumes that everyone uses the dollar. I didn't want to assume everyone's using the dollar. So what's it called?
Oh God, the zloty.
The zwarty?
Close enough.
Okay. And
just say vote with your wallet, Brian.
Yes, vote with your wallet. I was just kind of interested in what the currencies are.
I appreciate the attempts at cultural sensitivity, but Jesus Christ.
Hey, I'm trying over here, okay?
Yeah, and we appreciate it.
I'm a white cis American dude. I can only fail up, okay? So give me some credit for trying, okay?
Touche.
I enjoy having the confidence of the mediocre white man that I am. All right? So
fair enough.
Oh, shit. And David, remind me, I'm sorry, you're in Sweden, right? I'm just going to ask this. You're in Sweden, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
What is the currency there? I'm just going to it's not
Swedish krona. So crown.
Krona?
Yeah, krona.
Like a donut? Like a cronut?
No, like a crown.
No.
Crown.
Like a crown.
Krona, but it's crown. Okay, I'm
not Corona. That's something else.
No, I'm just thinking cronut because now I want cronuts. That's.
You're hungry.
I am. Yes, I am very hungry, and now I want cronuts.
I'm hungry too. Oh.
So friends, this has been kind of a depressing, but hopefully illuminating topic. I learned a lot today. Spaz linked. If you want Spaz, you can link to some of the videos you linked to in our admin chat, in the stream chat. Those were really good videos. What was the girl? What's her name?
Mooncat.
Yeah,
I'll look for video before we wrap up.
Yeah, her video was especially enlightening. I watched all 2 hours of it, and I felt both smarter and dumber at the end of it. To be perfectly honest, because I was like, oh no, I don't want to know about these things, but I should know about these things. So I guess the takeaway here is there's a lot of this bullshit out there about pay to earn and everything. And the best way you can fight against it is 1, don't give into it, and 2, learn more about it. It's going to be depressing to learn more about it. It's going to be depressing. But in the end, if we all learn enough about it to effectively fight against it, I think we'll all be better off. And it's like one thing we can fight against right now. We can't fight it. We can only do so much against the pandemic. We can only do so much against America's sliding
global warming.
Yeah, global warming. We can only do so much into America's slow slide into fascism. We can only do so much. But with this thing,
it's one thing in our power.
Yeah, with this, yes, exactly. With gamers with money, we can do a lot more here. But people hate critical thinking, Andre. They hate it. They hate critical thinking. It's terrible. They don't want to critically think. They just want people like Donald Trump to tell them what to do. That's all they want. Sorry. Okay.
They want to be told how to think, and that includes the people who are pushing for
Space Game Junkie podcast episode.
Yeah, this got okay. Anyway, but folks, yeah, please educate yourself. At the very least, thinking is hard. It's so hard. It's so easy, much easier to just listen to some music. But Spaz linked a great video. It's kind of long. It's about 2 hours.
And there's also the one line goes up, which I linked earlier in the stream.
Okay, but if you're going to watch one video about this, I think that's the one to watch because it's very entertaining. It's very funny and it's very insightful at the same time. So it's a really great. I found that other video you linked pretty dry, so it was harder to watch. But her video was very entertaining, and it kept me engaged throughout the entire thing, which I really appreciated. With my short attention span. What was that?
Before we go, I feel like I should apologize for coming up with the
No, don't apologize. It's something worth talking about. That's why, I mean, it's the Space Game Junkie podcast. We do talk about space games. We talk about video games, but we're also gamers, and there's a lot going on in the game space. I'm sorry. There's a lot going on in video gaming right now, and we should talk about it. Conversation is a good thing. So do not apologize. It's good we talk about this. Because go ahead.
It's better to talk, for me, it's better to talk about it than sit there and scream about it to myself.
Oh, yeah.
Because what I'm really hoping for is for the Axis Infinities to come crashing down and realize if that happens, that there will be a lot of victims. But then you will have a lot of indie developers who come up with things like Stardew Valley and Celeste, and even at one point, Hello Games was an indie developer. So.
Yeah, I mean, the failure of other games like Bingo Card Time, Elite Dangerous, and Star Citizen spurned developers into making better games. Like, I could make a space game too, and it worked. And now we have a nice little resurgence of space gaming. So things can rise from the ashes. And it's good we talk about this because, one, we're a community, the Space Game Junkie community, a wonderful community. And this is something we all should be on the same page about in our community. And if there are people in our community who don't like what we're saying, either think about your life choices or you can always leave. I know we've said that in a lot of other podcasts, and people have written back to us like, stop bullying the bullies, basically. Stop being intolerant of the intolerant. But there are certain things that we shouldn't tolerate. And this is one of them. And we're not going to. And if you want to be a part of a community that tolerates this sort of thing, that's not ours. That's not ours. So it's good that we talk about this, not only to get everyone on the same page about it and vent about it and whatnot, but also to probably weed out people we don't want to associate with who are on the other side of an issue like this. Yeah,
they can have their say, they can have their opinions, but our idea here is not to burn the world down.
No,
it is to take what's wrong with the world that we were seeing is wrong with the world and try to figure out a way to fix it. And if we can't directly affect that change, then we can at least try to make it better and build it back up.
And if you are on the other side of this, that's fine. As long as Andre says, if you're polite about it and you don't push it in people's faces and try to sell them on it, that's fine too. We want to be an inclusive community, but inclusivity has limits. As does everything. So we want to be an inclusive and educated and supportive community. And so don't apologize, Julie. Chats like this are a very good thing. We need to have topics like this.
When I'm going to vote with my dollars, instead of buying an Ubisoft or play-to-earn game, I'm going to buy a Distant Worlds.
All right, yeah, love Slither and Matrix, and they've been patching Distant Worlds 2 very well. I haven't played it recently, but apparently it's coming along nicely, from what I understand. So that's good. But does anyone have anything else to add, or should we start wrapping up? It's been over an hour.
I say we start wrapping up. We've had enough.
Well, I got a quick one. I don't actually hate Ubisoft for making the NFT push they did, because the backlash is a good sign.
Yeah, and they listen to the backlash. And they listen to the backlash. They listen
to the backlash. Yeah, they might try it again at some point, and we just have to give them more backlash. It doesn't mean we don't ever have to buy a game from them again. It just means we have to make sure that we're tempering their expansions into that domain with more backlash. So they know we like the other stuff you're doing, or some of us do at least, but we don't want to tolerate crypto being added. We don't want to tolerate NFTs being added. And as long as we're careful to draw that line, those of us who still want to buy their games still can.
And Fernando, I think you're right too. Like, gaming is, I mean, there's a lot of crap out there, but there's just so much good stuff. And there's just more and more good stuff coming out all the time. That isn't play to earn. That is play to enjoy. And as long as we keep getting a wonderful developers like yourself and like many others making great games, I think we'll be all right in the end. We just have to wade through the swamp of sadness and hopefully not drown like that horse. That's a weird cut. I'm sorry. But you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Crypto is the nothing of our industry.
Yeah, I didn't mean to veer into never-ending story, but it kind of works, I think, because it really is the nothing, isn't it?
Oh wow.
That part of that movie traumatized me like you wouldn't believe. So anyway, that's going to do it for this week's show. Thank you so much, my friends. No more streams this week. Oh, no, wait. Sorry. There's one more stream today at 2:00 Pacific time because I'm out of town. We're going to try and do some Yakuza if I have any energy left. So that's going to be in 3 hours? So we're going to have Yakuza today at 2 p.m. Pacific time. So it's 3 hours from now. And then off Thursday and Friday. We'll be back next week, Monday, the usual time. And then next week, because I've been playing so many flight sims of late, we're going to talk about the contentious topic of the pilot sim versus the plane sim. And I think some of us are going to have a lot to say about this.
Yay!
A lot to say. So thank you for a great chat today. By the way, everyone, great. Lots of people talking in the chat today. It was great. It was great seeing you all. And thank you for engaging and giving us stuff to talk about. We love you guys. Please take care of yourself. Take care of each other. And above all, if you haven't already, please get vaccinated. I mean, we got to get through this pandemic so we can handle the next pandemic, which is going to be the monkeypox. So we got to get through this COVID pandemic.
Oh, there's another one?
So we can deal with the monkeypox pandemic. Yeah, I'm not even kidding. Monkeypox is becoming a thing.
For crying out loud.
Exactly. So until there's a monkeypox vaccine, get the COVID vaccine so you can be as well prepared. God damn it, Andre. So you can be as well prepared and healthy as possible for when monkeypox becomes a bigger thing, because it's getting there. It's creeping. It's creeping. But thank you so much for listening, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.